everybody. How's it going? Let me fix this a little bit, see if that's a little better. How's it going? I'll give everybody a minute to get in, and we'll see how things are. I got to tell you, folks, unless tomorrow is sunny and I go out in the garden, there are no videos this week, only because I'm going away on Friday morning, and I'll be gone. And it's going to be an extremely, it's going to be an exhausting trip. It's going to be emotional. I'm going to be visiting. It's going to be busy, emotional, and physically demanding, as well as emotionally and mentally demanding. So I've decided to take this week to just chill and hang out with you folks, and just be right. So, and I'm making chicken and rice for supper, and you guys just saw that recently. I gotta trim my bangs, man. I gotta trim my bangs. There we go. Hey, well, Shondi, is it Shondi or Chondi? I try and give everybody a half-hour notice. Like I send it to Gab, I send it to Facebook, and I send it to TikTok. So, Roberta, hi, darling. How's the weather in Ohio? Willows. Okay, listen, I'm going to wait until everybody comes in. I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes to get in here, and then I'm going to pop out the participants list and say hi to everybody. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please say hello in the chat in the next couple of minutes, and your name will show up on the list of the people participating in chat, and then I can read it without trying to catch everybody in the comments, because I might miss you, and I don't want to miss anybody. Hi, Bev. Not sure I'll be here for the entire live. Matt has an eye doctor appointment to see about reading glasses. Okay, sweetheart. Okay. Don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it at all. So it's raining off and on here too. And I'm almost afraid to go into the garden, because we're not talking weeds, right? My cucumbers and zucchinis, I can see the flowers from the window, and they're starting to just go absolutely batshit crazy. If my zucchinis go nuts this year, rock on. I only put in 2 beds. If my cucumbers go nuts, rock on, because Howie eats pickles every single day. Lots of rain last night and today. Well, it's coming this way. Watching a video on TV where you're canning meatballs with mushrooms. That sounds good. That sounds good. All right, let me flip this on to we've been here. How long have we been here? Been here 3 minutes. I give everybody else 2 minutes. Well, I've heard about zucchini flour too. Where is your Patreon? Do you have a link? Okay, hang on a second. Let me get that for you. View as paid member. No. View, it should be view as public. Here we go. Here we go. There you go. There it is. All right. That's our 5 minute. Oh, no, it's not. It's not even 4. So come on in, say hello so that I can shout you out and say hi back. Let's put this on live chat. Does anyone make breaded fried squash flowers? I've heard of people doing that. It's not something I would think about. I can't really talk because I'm driving, but I have you hooked to my car so I can hear you. Okay, Charles, just don't try and respond now, okay? Unless it's by voice. All right. Freaky gig. able to catch a live, as I keep missing you lately. Well, that's all I'm doing this week is lives. You'll probably get a live stream sometime somewhere on the road on Friday. But Briar will be in the back seat, and I'm going to make sure he sits behind me in the truck, because when I'm holding it up, you can't see him when he's behind me, and he really does not like being on camera. All right, 5 minutes. Okay, let's pop out the participants list and see who's been paid. Oh no, I'm getting a tickle in my throat. I might have to drink some pickle juice. Annette Gaff, Backyard in Bloom, Barefoot Chickens, Sean Day, Charles, Cindy, Deborah, Faye, Z, Freaky Geek, Helen Burke, hi darling, Jean A, there's a new face, Jenny Bruno, Junebug, Kathy Pinkstaff, Kim Fraser, Lena K, Linda Bop, Laurel Travis, Michelle Jones, Missy Royer, Pam Robinson, Patsy Key, Rhonda Huber, Roberta Cook, Roshina Loving, Rosie Slade, Charlene, Susan Fain, Sybil P, Will's Garden, Wilma Baker, and Yellow Bird. I gotta go get a big drink of pickle juice. I got a tickle in my throat. I'll be right back. I found out the last time I had a tickle in my throat. You know how, and if you keep coughing and stuff, it's going to get worse, right? But if you drink a little bit of pickle juice, hang on a second. Uh-oh, somebody's tried to call me. Hang on. And I have no idea whose number that is, so we will just leave it. Are we going in? Are we gonna go in the TRUCK? Oh, I forgot you can spell. On Friday, and we're gonna get Briar. And we're gonna see Arthur and Mel and Eddie Spaghetti. And then we're gonna go to my brother's celebration of life. We're gonna go to Uncle Bobby's celebration of life. And you're gonna be on a leash, and there's gonna be other dogs. And you're gonna be a good girl, aren't you? I know you can do it. You will be a very good girl. Promise me you'll be a... Thank you. Thank you. Promise me you'll be a good girl. You will. You're getting too old to be an arsehole, right? It's time for us to slow down and watch the younger people play and cavort and be silly. But this weekend is going to be all about family. And you're part of that. So give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. I'm done. I'm done. Oh, so I don't get a kiss. Thank you. Okay. Oh, I'll scratch your bum. Okay. Scratcha. Ugh. It's not her bum I'm scratching. It's the backs of her thighs where she can't reach. Where you go? No, I'm done. You can do the kidney bean all you want. Go. Don't make eye contact. Don't make eye contact. Go lay down, baby, in front of the fan if you're hot. She's my baby girl. She's mommy's baby girl. She really is. So, glad your mom's okay. Hope she's not scared to stand up now. Who are we talking to? Can also chew a clove. Those are good for coughs. Well, I don't think the clove is... What I think it is distracting your throat from the tickle. That's not a tickle. You can distract your throat with something a little more irritating, and pickle juice will do that. So will a clove. Who's stubborn and won't give up? And they had little cute X on the end. So they were cut. Oh, wow. What's going on, Willows? Who fell? Your mom? Oh, no. Is she okay? Now, did everybody see the thumbnail? Now, listen. Let's just have some fun with this. Where's the gallery? Here it is. This was the video. Do you remember when we went down to Kingston to be with the kids and the grandbaby on Easter weekend? And we had a run in. We had booked the Motel 6 with a prepaid credit card, but they wouldn't allow us. This is Good Friday morning, like Good Friday, when everybody's going to be booked solid. Howie goes in to pay for our room, and they won't take his prepaid Visa. So I did a little rant on that right in the parking lot, and then we went right next door to the Quality Inn, Quality Comfort Inn, and they said no problem. So I did this little video, the second video from the room in the Quality Comfort Inn, saying, you know what? We'll never deal with Motel 6 again, yada, yada, yada. But every once in a while, somebody wants to see if they can work me up into a rage. And I'm telling you, folks, it's getting harder every day. That is not a challenge to the bitch factory. That's just the way my life is today. But when people do it, they usually do comment on my older videos that are older than 2 weeks old, because they think they'll get missed. Well, I pinned it. And it says, you look like a middle-aged man. Are you trans? I have a feeling you are. Now, this person either doesn't know me and is genuinely confused, or they do know me and they're trying to get me upset, or they just want a reaction, right? And I'm not giving them one. Yes, I am doing. We're talking about it, but the truth is, do you remember when all the negative comments used to make me froth at the mouth? Like, seriously, my name when I open a video is, this is the Mrs. Wolfie. Now, how could I be a woman transitioning to a man? And by the way, the word trans stands for transition. That means you're moving from one thing to another. Most people who claim to be trans do not complete the process, right? And I honestly think that the LGB, the lesbian, gay, and bi community are so friggin' tired of the TQ plus minus pi crowd. Because I remember rejoicing when gay marriage became legal here in Canada. It was awesome. I have a lot of gay friends. What's wrong? And what's wrong with being gay? Nothing. If that's what you want, how you want to live your life, there's nothing wrong with being gay. There's nothing wrong with being a lesbian or being bi. But the rest of it is just people who want attention and are, I honestly believe, are mentally ill. That's just and it doesn't, that's not a judgment. That's, I'm praying for them, right? Right? It's like we won a huge victory when they recognized gay marriage, and then they just had to do this, right? Overlook and ignore ignorance. Absolutely. I know that a trans person is not transparent, nor are the people who made them. You are beautiful, first of all. Second, I have been a TERF for 4 years. I can pretty much tell you all you want to know about trans. It's all bad. What's a TERF? Can you put that in the comments what the letters stand for? Who's bingo? Haters having anger towards everyone reaching success. Bev, you made it. Well, I mean, I'm up to 146,000 subscribers. Thank you, everybody. And I want to remind you, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe and click the bell, because a lot of people aren't getting notified. And YouTube's doing this weird thing. They have been for quite some time, where if you don't interact with my channel on a regular basis, like every couple of days, they'll drop you from the subscriber list, and you'll be so busy doing other things you won't notice you're not getting notifications, right? So please, it helps grow the channel. And when I get to 150,000, I'm going to do a giveaway. I'd like to actually get to 200,000 and do a big giveaway, like maybe a canner or a dehydrator or something. Hi, Tara J. Hey, Mary Cook. My sister is visiting from Pennsylvania. Haven't seen her in years. Oh, God love ya. Isn't that wonderful? I'm telling you. Hi, Joe. If you really have a hold on Bev, stand up and wave. Who's Tara J? I put a spell on you because you're mine. You better watch the things that you do. That's not a sweatshirt. That's a t-shirt. And Pierre Polyev gave it to me himself. So there you go. Oh, Bingo Healer is from Bluey, a show about Blue Healer puppy. Okay. Hi, happy guy. Hi, Leanne. How are you, darling? So, freaky geek. I can never get over your weird interpretations on people's comments. It's not that, and I don't want to get over it, because you bring a lot of love, light, and humor to this channel. Well, I got to tell you, folks, my nephew sent me a recording, a rough recording of them playing Into the Mystic. And I'm singing that. Okay, my brother's celebration of life is on Saturday, and I can't wait. I can't wait. I mean, wait a second. Let's back up a second. I shaved my hair off 2 years ago. And every time I went live on TikTok, people kept asking me what my pronouns are. And I didn't even understand what they were talking about at the time. Robert, hey, how are you, darling? I confuse myself sometimes. I'm freaky geek. Bluey, Chili, and Unicorse and his lawyer are so sweet. Oh, wow. Bev, today is my birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear sweet Pam. Happy birthday to you, and many more. Mwah. I always wondered why older people said and did. Okay, wait a second. Okay, I always wondered why older people said and did when they were older. I am 69 now, and I can see now why I always say to my hubby, what are they going to do? Spank me and take away my birthday? Exactly. Happy birthday, Pam. Well, I'm glad you're here, Robert. I didn't get to shake his hand. I didn't get to shake his hand because it was it was really packed. And I have a problem standing in line. I can't, right? So I didn't get to shake his hand, but I was in the second row. And when he was talking and he asked a question like how much money has been How much money has Trudeau spent in his 9 years? And I think I said something like $600 billion or something. Yeah, $600 billion. And he went, and he didn't see who said it. He turned around and he said, here, have a t-shirt. And he threw it to the guy in front of me, who was a Canadian vet. And I got to shout him out. I can't remember his name, but he was a Canadian veteran who was, when he retired, they gave him a $10,000 payout and $750 a month. How do they expect anybody to live on that? Even if he spread that $10,000 over 10 months along with his $750 a month, he wouldn't be able to live. Anyway, he went to throw it. He said, you get a t-shirt. And he said, no. He said, and then Polyev looked at him and he was already wearing one. He said, you already have a t-shirt. And the veteran in front of me, who had heard me shout it, said, they don't. And Polyev looked at me and he said, there you go. And that's my t-shirt. That's my t-shirt. Yes. Grocery ninja. Absolutely. I've lost all faith in politicians and in politics, the way our country, because I watched Jagmeet Singh talk about the greedy CEOs of the grocery corporations, how he spent $40 on a bottle of olive oil and a bag of imperfectly perfect apples. And people were sitting there clapping. And it's like, dude, you formed an unofficial coalition with the Liberal Party and you backed them, and you're blaming Trudeau for shit when you're the one who has been propping him up for years. So nothing Jughead Singh can say is going to sway anybody, right? And when he was saying things like, I'm getting this for you. I'm getting this out. I'm staying as long as I can to get things out of Trudeau for you. No, you're not getting things out of Trudeau, because everything you get out of Trudeau comes out of my pocket. Right? And so it's absolutely ludicrous about what's going on. But the truth is Pierre Poilievre gives us hope. He gives us hope. And everyone goes, oh, no, he's going to destroy the economy. I went, have you looked at the economy lately? Right? Oh, it's out in my truck. I have a thing that says axe the tax. Because here's my humble opinion, okay? The carbon tax that was imposed, the 23% carbon tax that was imposed on Canada on April 1st, puts everything up. And before you say it, I live in Quebec, and everyone thinks that we've lived without a carbon tax. No, we have not. We've been paying it longer. Do you know why? Because our provincial premier, Legault, when Trudeau said, okay, all these provinces, you get to come to me with a carbon tax plan where you're going to collect the taxes from your people and pay them to the federal government, right? Legault got right in there, and said, yes, sir, we'll do that. So ever since he introduced that he was going to, he said, we're making it voluntary. But then when nobody but like Quebec and shit signed up, he enforced it on April 1st. So everyone thinks Quebec's been getting a free ride. They haven't. We've been paying it longer, right? I got to go to a thing called Ruby Pantry once a month. You pay $25 and you get about $200 to $300 worth of groceries. It's great. Isn't it sad that these places have to exist, though? Because if you're getting $200 or $300 worth of groceries for $25, that's awesome. But who put the groceries there, right? So when we talk about the carbon tax, I'm going to educate some folks here. When we talk about the carbon tax and this 23% hike on absolutely anything that has to do with oil and gas, heating oil, heating gas, car gas, farmers. If you have greenhouses, okay, they pump them. Some of them pump them full of CO2, so that, because what happens? Plants eat carbon and turn it into oxygen. Basic biology, science, physics, whatever you want to call it. I learned that in grade 9. Okay. If a farmer pumps his greenhouses full of carbon, which it's sealed, it doesn't leak, to feed the plants because it makes them grow, the government taxes him on that. The government makes him pay exorbitant amounts of money for the fact that they're using carbon dioxide. Okay? Now, let's keep it on the most basic level. It's not even 23%. Because what happens when you put gas up, just gas, diesel, okay, not heating oil, not anything like that. You put gas up 23 cents, or no, it would be more, because gas was at, I think, I don't know. But when you put up, say gas is $1 and they put it up to $1.23, every single thing that uses gas, farm machinery, shipping vehicles, tourism's going to suffer because nobody wants to drive any distance. You feel me? If a farmer gets taxed 23% just on the fuel for his machinery, that gets passed on to his product. For him to be able to make a profit, he has to up the price. And then it gets shipped. Let's just even, there's places where they ship produce to, and then it goes by truck out to all these other companies and grocery stores and stuff. So let's just say groceries. So the farmer has to pay the carbon tax. So he ups his shit 23%. Then it goes to the shipping plant, and they have to pay 23%. Right? They have to pay the farmers 23% hike. And then when they go to ship it to the grocery stores, they up it 23% because they have to buffer the cost from the shipping and from the farmer. And then when it gets to the grocery store has to mitigate the cost from the farmer, the cost from the storage plant, and the cost from the shipping, and that gets passed on to you at the grocery store. It's not greedy CEOs. Maybe it is. But the truth is, we don't pay 23% carbon tax on our food. We pay closer to 60%. Everything's gone up a minimum of 40% in the last 3 years. So our groceries aren't taxed, but the grocery store, this is what I'm saying, our groceries aren't taxed. The only time they're taxed is when they're single servings, but family portions and things in bulk and bags of apples and stuff, they don't get taxed. All right? But the grocery store has to pay the tax. The grocery store has to pay 23% more because the trucks that delivered it had to pay 23% more for their fuel. And the company that shipped it had to pay 23% more tax from the farmers. Do you understand? It's not a one-shot deal. It covers absolutely everything in Canada that is touched by the gas and oil industry. So you may not see taxes on your grocery bill, but you see the price of the groceries. That's why every time I do a grocery haul, and ours is going to come after the weekend because we're not going to be home this weekend. But when you see my grocery hauls, what I used to get, I used to be able to go to Costco and get 2 full shopping carts, over full, for $500. And that was, ooh, there's a lot of money. Last time I went to Walmart in December. Okay. I went to Walmart in Peterborough in December. Because we were down visiting family, right? We were down visiting family. And Howie and I decided to go and buy himself a pair of work boots and a couple of pairs of jeans. And I forget what else we bought, but the cart wasn't even half full. The cart wasn't even half full. And that cart was $600. I put a little short out on it. And they actually told me that first that it wasn't, that they were going to block it. Why? Because I said the prices at Walmart. We gave food taxes here, even at the farmers markets or the picket farms. Well, that's because they are businesses, right? I saw a 4-year-old boy named Joey Marisco who cut his foot on a lawnmower and was in the middle of playing with his dog, and he was in the hospital. I don't understand where that's coming from, happy guy. Please don't vote for someone who will cut the ties with the monarchy, because I don't want you to get called out for being insulting and racist to British people. Oh my goodness. You know what? The monarchy's a farce. There's my opinion. I used to be a monarchy patriot until I started realizing that we don't need to be a Commonwealth country. We need to stand on our own 2 feet. We need to be independent from Europe. We need to be independent from Britain. So yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, like Pierre Poilievre could be a Hitler for all I know. We won't know until he gets into office. Okay? But the truth is, if he does half the things he says he's going to do, yes, a lot of things are going to get cut. But when he talks about making cuts, like you hear Trudeau talk, oh, we're going to spend $500 million on homes a year and 500 million homes or whatever. We're way behind the mark. We're way behind. He went to the NATO summit. We're lucky we weren't kicked out of NATO. Why? Because Trudeau, since he's been in office, has not once paid the full 2% of our gross national product to our NATO alliance that helps protect our country in times of attack or war. And we're supposed to spend 2% of our gross national product and give it to NATO. It's called military spending. And we have fallen short ever since Trudeau's gone in. Well, he has no problem funding the war and the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. He has no problem funding the conflict between Israel and Palestine. But for our own country, we fall short on our military spending. Make that make sense to me. I'm from my mother. Hi, Mary Cook. If he can do half the things he's talking about, he will be far better than most politics. Well, he's talking about axing the carbon tax. And Trudeau goes frothy at the mouth every time he hears that, because he says, every time if he axes the carbon tax, he's going to take away your carbon tax rebates that put more money back into the pockets of Canadians. It's proven that's an absolute lie. Because whenever someone gets a carbon tax rebate 4 times a year, it is 60% less or 40% less than what they actually paid out in inflation, in inflationary costs because of the carbon tax. So it's a bald-faced lie. And the whole ideology of the carbon being a climate crisis, I'm sorry, folks, it's just another psyop. Just like COVID, just like the jab. Okay, this is getting, we're pushing it here. Okay, it's a psyop, because let me give you a nickel's worth of free truth here, folks. To make our country carbon neutral, we would have to have, okay, trees eat X number of tons of carbon a year. Okay, we would need 30 million trees in our mature trees in our country to negate the carbon, because trees are plants, they eat carbon and produce oxygen. Now, we would need 30 million mature trees in this country to make us carbon neutral. Do you know how many mature trees are in Canada? 300 million. 10 times the necessary amount we need to have to be carbon neutral. So why are we, and what, look at the United States. They're not any more they're just as carbon neutral almost as we are, or whatever that is. And they don't have a carbon tax. This is no more than a scam to take money out of the Canadian pockets, put them in Trudeau's coffers so he can buy popularity with the rest of the world. And guess what, Trudeau? Nobody likes you. But have you seen the prices in New York City for food? It's insane. Well, have you seen how many immigrants are flooding in? That's another thing. I have no problem if immigrants come in and do go through all the proper processes. I think it takes like 5 years to become a citizen. Okay? Trudeau has been flooding our country with immigrants so that his popularity will be raised. That it looks like our country, we have a AAA credit rating. No, we don't. We have a AA credit rating. And all that means is that we continue to borrow money and make the payments. The interest on our national debt alone is somewhere in somewhere in the nature of 50 to 56. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do your research. The interest alone on our national debt is somewhere in the $56 million a year. $56 million roughly a year just in interest that we have to pay. We, the people of Canada. Okay? He has spent more money than all other prime ministers in Canada combined. He has spent more money. Let me repeat that. Trudeau has spent more money in 8.5 years than all other prime ministers of Canada combined. And please don't tell me that the pandemic was expensive, because it didn't have to be. It wasn't, it wasn't what it is. Migrants have nothing to do with the price of groceries. They do work most people won't do. You pick veg in 100-degree weather. I get that, Deborah. I get that. But flooding them into cities, right? And guess what? People will do the jobs. People will do the jobs. And nobody, the only fruit I see getting picked by migrant workers in Canada is things like apples and peaches, and that's at harvest time. And those folks come over from Jamaica. They're migrant workers. And they come over from places like Jamaica, and they get paid. Well, back in my day, it was $8 an hour. But they get paid, and they all kind of hang out. This is the way it used to be. Correct me if I'm wrong. They would come over. There would be like 10 of them in one motel room. And they would make all this money while they were, and they would send the money home. And when the job was done, they would go back to Jamaica. That's a totally different thing than what's going on in our world today. We have a housing crisis. So why is it okay that our population has gone up 1 million people in 9 months or in the last year? I don't know, Lacey Black. You were told you don't know if it's true that if you were even move out of California, you have to pay a tax just for moving. I don't know. I don't know. Migrants are human beings who are poor and need work. They take the worst work we don't want, and we are all in the same boat unless you are a billionaire. Well, yes, they are human beings. And if they're leaving their country because they're poor, Canada is really not going to be a place for them to find their golden apple, is it? Because the housing, okay, to give you an example, recently a house that pre-pandemic, okay, because we're in the middle of nowhere, would have gotten $750 a month. Now they want $1,300 a month. We're in the middle of nowhere. If we're in a housing crisis, how are we going to house all these people? It doesn't make sense. If they're poor, I'm sorry, but don't come to a country. Don't come to a country where you can't afford to pay the rent, where minimum wage is not going to pay your rent, right? No one is questioning their humanity, but the rationality of allowing entrance of numerous people and using a country's resources for illegals rather than on the citizens. That's a rational statement, okay? Well, you may see mostly Latinos and stuff, but here in Canada, most food is harvested by machine. And that's why it gets really expensive. I worked in an apple plant for 10 days before my doctor made me quit because it was brutal work. It was brutal work and it was wrecking me. I already had fibro. They just hadn't diagnosed me yet. And they paid me. Now listen, they paid me. I forget what I was making. I think it was $7 an hour. And I started at 7:30 in the morning. Wait, we worked from 7 till 4 p.m. You got a 10-minute break in the morning, a 20-minute lunch. And a 10-minute break in the afternoon. And I was standing on concrete all day packing apples. And not only that, when the buzzer was supposed to go at 4 o'clock, I watched the plant manager stand there for 15 minutes and keep the plant running for an extra 15 minutes. Now think about that. I did the math on that. Okay, wait a second. They were getting an extra 7.5 hours a month. No, a week. They were getting an extra 7.5 hours of work out of the entire plant a week or a month. I can't remember which. Without paying us for that extra 15 minutes a day. They were just wrong. And it was brutal work. But I didn't see any migrant workers working in there. I'm saying try being an illegal immigrant in Mexico and demand the same resources there as an illegal. See how far that gets you. Housing from greedy people. My kids pay outrageous prices for rent, and it's greed. And this is Minnesota, not Canada. Well, that may be, but that's allowed to happen. Did you know that in Toronto, I read this article, and this was a couple of months ago, that we have something in Canada called rent control. And rent control meant that the landlords, I know because I used to own a house a duplex that I rented out the upstairs, and you could only raise the rent. It's either 2.9% a year or I think it was 4.9% a year because of the cost of living increases. That was the law. You couldn't increase your rent to anything you wanted to, right? In Toronto, if you have a rental property that was built from 2018 forward, there is no rent control. So these two sisters were living in an apartment in downtown Toronto, and they had been paying $2,500 a month for this 2-bedroom apartment. And as soon as that new bylaw came through that you didn't have to have rent control if you had built your place from 2018 forward, their rent went from $2,500 to $9,000 in a space of 6 months. And why? Because the government cut greedy people a break. This was recent. This was in the last year. So what I'm saying is landlords will only be greedy if the government lets them. Rent control is there for a reason, so that people can afford rent. All right? But it's going up. Why? Because we're in a housing crisis. All the rent's going up because when somebody leaves a place and the landlord cleans it up, he now can up the rent from $750 to $1,300 because it's going to get new tenants. And then he's under rent control after that, right? But if you have a million new people move into our country in the space of a year, where are they going to live? So the housing crisis is also a rent crisis. People come here because of no food, gangs flooding, weather, and in general, it's not safe. And they want to come here to work, not to ask for handouts. And how do I know all my grandkids mixed? Mixed doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you mean by mixed. Okay. What I'm telling you is it's no better financially over here. It's no better. It may look better, but it's no better over here because our groceries are insane. Our gas prices are insane. Our rent prices are insane. Our mortgage prices are insane. Why would you want to come here? And the truth is, they're bringing in all these people, telling them all these wonderful things, and they get here and find out it ain't so grand. And a lot of people just want to go back because at least they knew what they were up against and where they came from. Brothers-in-law's sister had a rental for 20 years, paid $800 a month. A landlord jacked the rent to $1,600 a month in Hamilton. He must have done something to improve the property. We have flooding, poverty, and gangs here too. Thank you. Now listen, let's talk about what happens. Okay? Never mind. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. They are half Mexican, Guatemalan black. And your point? What's your point, sweetheart? We're not talking racism here. We're not talking about race. We're talking about the health of our country. Our country is being ground under the boot of a liberal leader who has the unofficial coalition backing of an NDP, meaning that everything Trudeau wants, Trudeau gets. And now the NDP coalition, who's still supporting him, is bashing him verbally. This has got nothing to do. Hey, Healing Fibers. Their fathers came from Mexico. Okay. Let me tell you something. We used to have a mobile home in Arizona as a vacation property. Sounds grand, but we bought it in 2009 after the housing housing crash in 2008. And I think we paid $12,000 for it. $10,000, $15,000 Canadian, something along those lines. And for 3 years, we would go there 3 times a year. We would fly, we would drive if we were going to stay there longer than 2 weeks. And we improved on that. Okay. This needed a lot of work. So we had the roof re-rubberized. We had privacy screens put on, how we rebuilt the kitchen and part of the living room. And he painted the entire mobile home and all this stuff. We did a lot of improvements. But when we realized we were spending almost $5,000 a year to go to a vacation place only 3 times a year, we realized it wasn't financially feasible to keep it. And why am I telling you this? Because when we sold it to a young Mexican couple. The girl worked as a maid in the hotel, and she was a legal resident of the U.S. in Arizona. And her husband was a recent immigrant, but they had, she worked and then he came over and he got a job and he was a landscaper and they had 2 kids. I had no problem selling them this mobile home. So much so that their down payment went to pay the real estate agent, and the rest of the money they owed us, they paid us over 5 years. We held the mortgage for them, and they never made a late payment. Never. So here's what I'm trying to say. If you're trying to call me racist, please don't go there. Please don't go there. Okay? Just because I'm white doesn't make me racist. That's all I'm saying. Look, I taught ESL to legal immigrants. I have no problem with legal immigration. Their lessons were also free to them. Many legal immigrants are against illegal immigration themselves. Exactly. Because it puts everybody in a bad light, doesn't it? Doesn't it? So what I'm saying is we got to stop. I agree with Morgan Freeman. Racism will stop when we stop talking about it. Okay? I have no problem with people celebrating their heritage at all. Absolutely no problem with that. Okay? But when and I'm not going to say, but there are people from foreign countries that are moving into places like Europe. We've been seeing this in Europe, and what would happen is they would not come here to be better, to improve on their lives. They came here to build their life over in replica of what they had, but it was too hard over there. There are communities in places like France where the police won't go, where women won't go unless they're appropriately covered. Let me just say that. Okay? If you're going to come to a new country, okay? If you're going to come to a new country to better your life, absolutely keep your heritage. But don't try and make our country over into where you came from with your ideals. Right? Keep those behind, keep those in your home. Absolutely. Nobody has a problem with people moving to our country going through the proper channels. But when you just open the borders, okay, it's a drain. It's a drain. We're in financial, economic crisis now. But to allow 1 million people, destitute people, to come into this country telling them you'll look after them is wrong. A, it's a lie. And B, it's not fair to the rest of the people who work and like I work every day. My husband works every day. I'm paying $1,000 a month right now in taxes to Canada, Revenue Canada and Revenue Quebec. And I have to wait until October when that is paid so I can start paying on last year's taxes. I don't make that kind of money. My husband doesn't make that kind of money, right? So our income, my income is going down, but my taxes are getting worse. Hey, Wendy, how's it going? Jesus said to love one another, period. Well, that was his message, wasn't it? Love. Okay? Now, you can love somebody without liking them. You can love somebody from a distance. For instance, I had a crazy neighbor once. And he went from, he was all over the board when it came to being a nasty man or being a nice man, right? Now, I loved that man, but I wouldn't put up with his crap. And as long as he stayed on his property, I could love him, but not like him. I could love him and not want anything to do. Loving somebody just means respecting their right to be alive. Now, when your right to be alive starts messing on my property, then we have an issue. But it doesn't mean I don't love the person. Love does not mean you're going to go give them a hug or, you want to bring them into your home or anything like that. Love just means respecting another person's right to their square corner of the world. Right? Oh, no, that wasn't me, honey. That wasn't you, honey. The goal is no private property. Of course. Oh, they're remaking Soylent Green, eh? Now, does that put your hand up in the emojis if you remember the Soylent Green with Charlton Heston and, oh, God, what was his name? I'm getting old, man. Thank you. Borders and boundaries are biblical concepts. Yeah, if you went out in space and looked at the planet, pretty sure God didn't draw lines on it. That was man. Okay, there's a line in the original Soylent Green where him and, okay, it's going to drive me nuts if I don't Google it. Main cast of the original Soylent Green movie. Edward G. Robinson.
More than 60 actors.
So Edward G. Robinson was like a librarian. Okay. He was an information guy. Okay. Oh, are you kidding? I just watched a video where there's nanotechnology in Coca-Cola and Pepsi. I just stopped drinking even my Christmas Coke, my Christmas Coca-Cola. It's showing up everywhere. But there's a line. Edward G. Robinson and Charlton Heston are talking, and they had dinner. He made a little stew, and the salad was a leaf of lettuce, and dessert was an apple. And he said, I remember when or whatever it was, but the line I remember was Charlton Heston saying, well, you know, land is needed for the people. It's too important for private ownership. It's needed to feed the people. They're trying to do that now. 15-minute cities, districts, whatever you want to call them. I am not a conspiracy theorist, guys. I call myself Mrs. Spoiler Alert, and I've been talking about this stuff for 10 years. And nobody listens. Nobody listens, right? Or if they do listen, they either discount me without doing their research. See, Soylent Green, this is the thing about the dark side, okay? Nobody seems to understand the kind of rule that our planet is actually under. That's all I'm going to say. But the truth is, they made a deal. And the deal was that they could do whatever they wanted as long as they told the people what they were doing and what they were planning. Soylent Green from the 70s was a plan for what was them saying, look what you got to look forward to. Now they're going to make it all, that's a conspiracy theory or everything else. You go back and watch that movie and then watch the new one and tell me they weren't. Look at, I keep going back to Supernatural. Okay. The show Supernatural. How can I say this without sounding like a witch, which I'm not? Supernatural, I watched that whole series more than once, and I saw truth in a lot of the ceremonies and things. Now, they would switch one little thing out, but every once in a while, they told the absolute truth. But everything else around it got so stupid and insane. People would just, it's just a show. But there was actual true shit in that series. They just hid it in plain sight with a lot of nonsense. That happens everywhere. That happens everywhere in every movie. Look at I Am Legend with Will Smith. I do believe that was based on the original Marathon Man. Oh, yeah, I've been seeing videos about meat that's just coming apart in layers and stuff. I don't know if they're flooding into Canada legally or not. All I know is they're being welcomed by Trudeau. Right? Doesn't mean it's right. Exactly. Okay. I Am Legend with Will Smith. In the opening of that movie, now this was a kind of loosely based on the Marathon Man, another Charlton Heston movie. And I Am Legend, if in the very opening of the movie, okay, in the very opening of the movie, while the credits are rolling and they're flashing this and flashing that and going boom, 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 you see a little clip of Emma Thompson as a doctor on a newsreel saying that they have cured cancer by genetically modifying a person's cells and putting them back into their body to target the cancer. And then it's just this little reel. And then the whole movie goes insane with people becoming like vampires and rabid and all that stuff from the genetic mutation. So we automatically discount that from happening. But they told the truth in the beginning. 10 years later, 60 Minutes and W5. 60 Minutes is US, W5 is like 60 Minutes, only in Canada. Okay? These are investigative journalism. 10 years after I Am Legend, they aired on the same day on a Sunday night. 60 Minutes talked about how they were helping to cure children with sickle cell anemia by taking a certain set of cells out of their blood, genetically modifying them to kill the disease, giving it back to them to cure them. Children. And on W5, they were talking about how they were curing resistant repeated cancers in small children by genetically modifying, I think it's their T cells or something. I don't know. Check if I'm wrong. And then reintroducing it back to the body to cure the cancer. We heard about that in I Am Legend. And when I saw this, I did a live on it. I said, "Are you kidding me? Does not anybody remember the movie I Am Legend?" Right? And everyone's going, "Well, I suppose you want all those children to die." No. And the reason it happened so fast, and it didn't have to pass the FDA because it wasn't a food or drug. They were just monkeying with the person's own DNA. Then we jump forward about 5 or 6 years, and COVID hits the scene. And within a year and a half, they've got a vaccine. And they say, "Oh, it was FDA approved emergency wise." They never renewed it for proper FDA approval. And why would it get approved so quick? Because it was A, an emergency, and that's what they told everybody. But B is because it's not a pharmaceutical at all. Okay? Omega Man. Thank you. Omega Man. I knew it was one of those, right? Okay, wait a second. Jennifer Ocean's homestead. Yeah, until the stranger leaves and goes back to their home. Wait a minute. The government is flooding millions over here all the time legally, and it's ruined our country and our quality of life and livelihood. It's satanic to do that to people and favor foreigners. Okay, wait a minute. That's so racist. Your ancestors were not American. Okay, let's not. Chloe, Jennifer, didn't we just say the way to combat racism is to stop making much ado about nothing? There's only one race, the human race. That's us. And guess what? We all came from Africa. The cradle of life as we know it, the cradle of human life as we know it, started in Africa. So guess what, guys? Race doesn't exist. We have culture and ethnicity and all these things, but there is only one race, and that's the human race. And we got to stop letting the powers that be, I'm not talking about governments and religions and corporations. I'm talking about the people above them, the silent ones, the ones we never hear about, the ones we don't know their names, who are pulling all the strings of the governments and the churches and the corporations. All right? We got to stop letting them have power by directing our anger, by them directing our anger at each other. They're constantly shaking the jar, and we're turning on each other because we can't see the person that's shaking the jar. We can't see who's shaking the jar, so we turn on each other. inside the jar. Do you understand? The moment we stop talking about it, the moment we stop playing victim, okay, is when this shit ends. Now, I have fibromyalgia. I have 2 kinds of arthritis, and I've had family members tell me to go on disability. Why have I not gone on disability, folks? I'd love to hear your answers. Okay? Be bold. Let's talk about this. Why has Mrs. Wolfe never gone on disability? You see, when Arthur was born, I was on mother's allowance. And I was on mother's allowance until I got married. No, until Briar was born. And then Howie and I got married. My husband, who pays, I'm going to show you, look at this here. I'm going to change my email. Here we go. Just answer the question. My husband pays approximately $1,200 in taxes, Canada Pension Plan, employment insurance, and company insurance. $1,200 every 2 weeks. Why have I never gone on disability? Because you feel you can still do a lot of things and you know how to work around it. Thank you. But there's another reason. If I am to pledge myself as disabled and take compensation for that, I have to be disabled. And there's a lot of things I can't do, and I couldn't even live in this house without my husband's help. But I'm not disabled. I won't be disabled for money. Do you understand that? It said there's ads. Is anybody getting ads? Or are they going to insert this after the fact? Hey, Kendra. So my point is ads. Okay. Everybody go pee. And then we'll wrap it up. Hey, Ann, how are you, darling? Well, they like to, I have no control over them putting ads in. You have made up there too, scary stuff. Yes, we do. And I have a Rumble video on it. If you would like, here, let me put out a couple of videos for you from Rumble so that you can actually see what I'm talking about. Here is one. This is my video about MAID. Pinwheel. Got the ad. Yes, I'm in Canada. I am definitely Canadian. And I will stay. I may not stay in Quebec, but I actually like what we've done to our property. So I really don't want to. There's reasons why. Okay. There we go. And one more. Let's see. Oh, here's one. These are all things that I'm not allowed to talk about on YouTube. So I'm going to let you go now But what I'm saying is we got to stop allowing the powers that be getting us angry and pointing us at each other. You know what? The world elites and all the governments and the corporations and the churches, do you know, and I don't mean the little churches, I mean the great big megalithic ones that control millions of people. What do they want? They are terrified that humanity will realize that we are many, 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 many more than them. And all we have to do is wake up to the fact that we are bigger than them. So they keep getting people angry and pointing them at each other so that we won't wake up and realize how powerful we really are as people. Okay? This is Mrs. Wolfe from our half-acre homestead saying we have to be bigger than what they are telling us we are. We have to be bigger than what they call racism. We have to be bigger, okay? Because we have to be together. And we can't unite as people across the world to oust the blackness that is controlling our lives. They control our lives because we allow it. We're allowing it like lemmings going off a cliff. Please, folks, stop pointing your finger at everybody else and start grabbing the hand to the person next to you. Pretty soon, those hands will stretch around the world, and there isn't anything we can't accomplish for the good of life, for the good of mankind. Not the greater good, the good. I don't trust for the greater good. I don't trust that statement. This is Mrs. Wolfe from our half-acre homestead. Oh, I'm going to put one more in there, okay, for the person with the Tweety emoji. Hang on a second, the Tweety bird emoji. Hang on. Hang on, folks. I got to find it. It's an older one. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait a second. Let me look at my channels. This one. Okay, here we go. Da, 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 da. Hang on. I'm still trying to find it. Ah, there it is. This one was a year ago, but you go ahead and watch it with the other video that's the same. Tweety power! Tweedle, tweedle, tweedle-dee. Listen, folks, everything I say is just my opinion. You have the right to disagree. That's what an opinion is. Everyone has one. They're like assholes, and sometimes they stink. But the truth is, the powers that be live in fear of us realizing that we outweigh them 100 to 1. If we would just stop fighting with each other and band together. You know what I mean? For the good of the planet. This is Mrs. Wolfe from our half-acre homestead. And this was just a discussion. I'm not asking you, I'm not telling you what to think. I'm asking you, I'm begging you to use your brain and do your research. You'll be surprised. And everything is being revealed. This is what I'm also hearing this a lot. I went down a rabbit hole on TikTok last night. And people are going, they are trying to make a new diagnosis called demon face, that people need to be medicated because they're starting to see demons in people's faces. Like they'll blink and they'll see somebody as a demon. All is being revealed. That's not a sickness. That's what's being revealed. Just my opinion. This is Mrs. Wolfe from our Half Acre Homestead saying, I encourage you, please go over to my Rumble channel, like, subscribe, comment. That's where the real discussions happen and lives. Take care. God bless. Mwah! I love you. Never forget that. Just because I can't see you doesn't mean I can't love you, because my heart sees you.